This is completely inaccurate, as this mount is not even invented at this time. This entire scene here is fictional and would have never happened on Omaha Beach. It makes me think that the developers didn't do any research on them whenever they were making the game. This is not possible at all in real life. With all of the mistakes and inaccuracies added up, I can really only give this mission a historical accuracy grade of... Hello everybody, welcome back or welcome to the YouTube channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a playthrough of Call of Duty World War II, but I'll be going over all the historical inaccuracies I find while playing the game. Just to start off, I'm not a historian, but I've been collecting relics the last few years, and I did some research before this video, so I think I know enough to make it. I'll be playing each mission individually within each episode, making it into a little series for my channel, so go ahead and subscribe and turn post notifications on to stay tuned for when those videos release. I won't keep you any longer, let's go ahead and get started. The game begins aboard a transport ship just before the invasion of Omaha Beach on D-Day. We're introduced to some of the main characters already. Sussman, ILO, and Styles. They're all hanging out together playing the knife game. Right away we see our first historical inaccuracy. Sussman is wearing an M43 field jacket, which wasn't standard issue until 1944. Most troops on D-Day wore an M41, which is what you see Styles and ILO wearing, with that lighter tan color. Styles then checks his watch and realizes the group will be late to the briefing, so they get up and run, and then you get to see Pearson, who cuts Sussman and Daniels off, and that's when you see the next historical inaccuracy. He's also wearing an M43. Pearson tells them that the Krats will steal their lunch, and Sussman quickly comes back saying,
"It's your lunch."
Not our lunch, Sergeant. Our lunch is secure.
Watch your lips, Sussman.
Pearson then tells him to watch his non-existent lip, and they move on. Colonel Davis gives his final speech to the men on the deck of the transport ship as bomber planes fly above and the battleships rain bombs on the Nazi defenses. You see the character you play as Daniels. He is also wearing an M43 field jacket, meaning 3 of the main characters in the game are wearing the completely wrong clothing. The soldiers begin boarding the LCVP, and you see the next inaccuracy. The game shows 19 men plus 3 crew members in the LCVP, when in reality the Higgins boats carried around 30 to 36 men. The crew count is actually accurate, as 3 to 4 crew members were typical for an LCVP, but we'll get more into the details about the members themselves in a second. Now you're in the landing craft. Turner gives a speech.
Remember, no digging in at the shore. Gotta advance.
The next historical inaccuracy you'll see is right behind the lieutenant. The battleship in the background is way too close to the beach, and the next inaccuracy you see is the bomber planes above you. They weren't there in real life, as the bombing runs were already close to completion, so they'd be way inland, not at the shore here. They should be 15 to 20,000 feet in the air, not this low to the ground. And the next inaccuracy that you see is the crew here. The crew is shown as regular infantry, when in real life they were US Coast Guard or Navy personnel, and sometimes even British Royal Marines. They're seen wearing cartridge belts and other standard gear that the infantry should be wearing. Also, for some reason, they have M43s, but shown here just isn't really what they look like. They used a variety of gear like blue helmets and blue uniforms and yellow life jackets. They literally just used regular infantry models and put them as crewmen. The gunner gets shot, you're told, "Everybody get down!"
Everybody down!
Chaos unfolds as artillery and MG fire rain above your head. Boats are hit by artillery and soldiers are sent into the sea. The game does give you a good grasp of the grittiness of the landings on Omaha Beach. Pearson and Turner remind the squad of the objective one last time.
Get to the seawall! Couples in! James, get the Bangalore to the wire! Fast! Everybody ready! Here we go!
They tell the crew to drop the ramp. The crew hesitates and Pearson commands him to drop the ramp one last time. The crew obeys. Just as the ramp lowers, another LCVP crashes into the side, sending Daniels to the floor in a daze. His allies around him are cut down by the MG fire, and only a handful survive, after they are forced to hop out over the sides. You sink into the water after jumping overboard, and Turner picks you up from the water, and then you storm the beach under MG fire. You hit the sand in a confused state of mind as soldiers pour out of an LCVP while drenched in fire. And another soldier next to you tries to stand using his missing leg. Here you can get a better look on the battleships and how they're way too close to the coast. In reality, they're about 11 miles off coast. In real life, it took about an hour for the Higgins boats to land, whereas in the game it took about 3 minutes. Now I'm back in control of Daniels, and I almost immediately see the next historical inaccuracy when I turned around. The M3 scout car that's on Omaha Beach here is not supposed to be here at all. These type of armored cars did not arrive on Omaha Beach until around 8 in the morning, 2 hours after the initial landings. And you move on a little further and see these tanks with the Rhino hedgerow cutters on the front. This is completely inaccurate, as this mount is not even invented at this time. You push up the beach cover to cover as soldiers fall around you, and if you stop to look at the bunkers, you'll realize the next historical inaccuracies. The bunkers in the game have firing ports that are square and not the rectangular type that were actually present on Omaha Beach. The bunkers that are to the left and right have more accurate firing points and look a little more accurate to the ones that are firing in the game. I guess it really depends on where the soldiers landed, but for most soldiers, the bunkers were facing them at an angle. In real life, the German defenses on Omaha Beach were designed to fire along the length of a beach, not directly towards it. This created overlapping fields of fire, or kill zones, where multiple machine guns could target the same area. The angles of the guns and the overlapping fields of fire is one of the main reasons that there were such high casualties on Omaha Beach. The machine guns themselves accounted for 2/3 of them. The next inaccuracy is the beach itself. The real length from the landing to the seawall on Omaha Beach was 270-360 meters. The game shows it at about 120-ish. On the beach itself are the Hedgehog anti-tank obstacles. The game shows them in lines and uniformly spread out together, where in real life they were more spread out one by one and not all sectioned together lined up like this. You finally make it to the seawall and you use the Bangalore to explode an opening in the barbed wire. The men push up and are cut down by MG fire. You can see the square firing ports clear now. Daniels recovers and guns down 2 more enemy soldiers, pushing up and into a trench that is just way too extensive for this position. Trenches after the seawall did exist, but they didn't really look like this. We'll get more into the trenches later, so stay tuned. As you advance and clear the trench system, you see another M3 scout car passing by. They should not be here at all. In this part of the mission, you can come across one of the many mementos you can find in the game. This one meant to resemble a Hitler Youth knife, and does a pretty good job, but it's missing a couple things. It replaces the Hitler Youth diamond with an iron cross. Also, there were no Hitler Youth divisions on Omaha Beach, meaning there shouldn't be any Hitler Youth knives on Omaha Beach at all. And you get to the wall at the bluff and Pearson tosses a red smoke to call in artillery from the battleships, which then destroy the bunker at the end of the hill. This entire scene here is fictional and would have never happened on Omaha Beach. Using smoke grenades would have been nearly impossible, as the wind was 17 to 23 miles an hour, or 27 to 37 kilometers an hour. Making the smoke disperse, on top of the fact that smoke grenades were never used like this in the first place, as naval gunfire wasn't coordinated this way during the landing phase on Omaha Beach. The bunker at the end of the bluff having square firing ports is actually accurate to have, as they were like this in real life. There are real bunkers that look similar to this at the end of the bluff on WN71 and WN72. The squad pushes further up the bluff and into the trench system, eliminating enemies outside of the bunker before clearing the inside with grenades. The bunker itself is actually designed very well. I had to have been looking at some pictures or something for reference, because these are, to my knowledge, designed pretty good, other than the fact that the firing ports again are just square instead of them being rectangle. Now let's stop and take a look at the uniforms and helmets for the German soldiers in the game. If you're already aware about how bad they are, you might agree with me in saying that these mistakes that they made on them are the worst mistakes and possibly the easiest to fix in the game. Starting off, the color for the tunic is completely wrong and actually never existed as a color that the German army used for the uniforms. They should be a field gray, which was a greenish gray color, not this stone color. This dead guy blends in more with the concrete wall behind him than anywhere else on the map, and they're also wearing coats in the middle of summer. The helmets that the soldiers wear are so bad, it's actually insane. It makes me think that the developers didn't do any research on them whenever they were making the game. The helmets have a single tricolor decal, which is historically inaccurate on multiple levels. German helmets were never issued with only a tricolor decal, meaning a helmet like this would never exist at any point in time at all. It'd be more accurate to only have a service branch decal like a Hare or a Luftwaffe Eagle, or just no decals at all. On top of that, by 1944, the tricolor decal was mostly phased out, because in 1940, the production of tricolor decals on helmets was banned to speed up production and improve camouflage capabilities. and soldiers were typically ordered to paint over them. So by the time of D-Day, all of these newly issued helmets would have been plain or having a single decal on the side, and the decal would have never been a tricolor decal. And the last thing I can spot with the helmets, the color of them looks like a dark gray, almost black, which isn't the right color either. They should either be a light gray or a green or some type of camouflage. The game allows you to pick up a PPSH, which isn't entirely inaccurate, but having them this common is, as well as the design for the gun. The magazine shown is a stick magazine, when in reality the majority of magazines that are being used by the PPSHs in this area were drum magazines. I take point and advance to the trench and save the life of a fellow American soldier, then come across the entrance to 2 bunkers, one of the doors being open. As you enter this bunker, a soldier is gunned down by MG fire.
Daniels, toss the smoke!
Pearson tells you to throw smoke and then advance to flank the MG position.
Turret's blind! Move up!
If you stop to take a look at the MG position, you'll notice that the design itself is wrong. Typically an MG position inside of a bunker like this would have a smaller firing port, like what's seen around the corner at the other entrance. This one's just too wide and open, and to my knowledge they were never designed to be like that. The squad then moves on to clear another part of the trench to join another squad who is assaulting the next bunker, only we're too late and I watched the last soldier get gunned down by enemy fire. I pick up his M2 flamethrower in honor of our fallen brother and clear the bunker with it. The M2 flamethrower itself is fairly accurate to its real counterpart. The only problem is, Daniels doesn't pick up and equip the fuel canisters whenever it's used. We make our way to the next bunker and save the life of another American soldier who is pinned against the wall. We keep pushing further into the bunker and find out where all the German soldiers are held up. They're firing mortars, and to our luck, they have a fuel canister painted a shiny red right next to them, just screaming at us to shoot it. So I did, and it explodes, killing the mortar crew. The problem being, other than that, red fuel cans never existed and would rather always be painted green. Shooting one would almost never result in an explosion. This is just pure Hollywood. I clear the bunker of the last soldier, and Pearson gives us our final orders for this part of the mission.
Daniels, you and Zussman clear the last bunker. Rally at the top of the bluff. And for fuck's sakes, don't get yourselves killed.
But before that, let's take a look around. The mortar pit itself is very well designed, but it shows each location twice and in a different direction. We then continue with the task given and move on to the next and final bunker, clearing the area in front and coming across a yellow gas can, which again is another weird inaccuracy. Germany did use yellowish gas cans, but the ones in real life were never this bright. They were typically on the African theater, not there in Normandy. We enter the bunker and get jumped by a lone soldier and have a brief struggle. Then Zussman tackles him to the ground, landing on top, punching the German in the face, only for a knife to be plunged into his side. The German comes rushing at us, and we get into another scuffle, resulting in Daniels to be on top, with the knife used to stab Zussman pinned to the floor. The only option left is to grab the German's helmet, which is, for some reason, correctly painted green this time instead of a dark gray we've been usually seeing. We smash the helmet over his temple, killing him. We get up and run to Zussman, check on him, and they're both almost ambushed by a German soldier.
12 o'clock!
Privates in the army were not issued sidearms, so Daniels having one is inaccurate.
Come here, buddy. I can't walk.
And after getting stabbed, Zussman can't walk anymore, so you drag him across the field, surrounded by the trenches you just fought to clear, and multiple German soldiers trying to kill you. At one point you shoot 3 Germans, and as you turn back around, Zussman takes out his M1911 from his imaginary holster, which he also shouldn't have an M1911, and then kills the German soldier.
He's down! Let's move! Move!
You finally make it to the CCP. A medic with no identifiers to tell you that he is a medic comes up and says he'll take care of him. A soldier who calls himself a medic should be wearing a white armband with a red cross that identifies he's a medic, or have a red cross painted on his helmet, but instead he's just a plain infantry soldier here.
You'll take care of him. I need you with me, Daniels. Listen up! There's a GPF cannon by the farmhouse up the road.
Turner then comes in and tells you to fall in, gives you new orders to take out the GPF cannon that's firing at our guys on the beach. But before that, let's take another look at these trenches. You can see the point that we entered from, and tracking it shows we basically went in one big circle, which again isn't entirely inaccurate, and is clearly loosely based off of the Vindersten's nests that were actually there on Omaha Beach. The way the trenches look here just isn't correct at all. They're too twisty and turny, they're too deep and wide, and they're way too connected. They should only be 1 to 2 men wide. as well as the bunker entrances also having some sort of defenses and not being connected to the trenches. They would look more like the ones we first entered and the ones we last entered, as well as the bunkers not being this big. The bunkers in between the first and last bunkers that we go in should be pillboxes, not these big fighting position and garrison bunkers. Now we fall back in with Turner, we push up the bluff even further and make it to the farmhouse. We lose a couple of men, but we clear out the area of enemies, only to be counterattacked by a huge German force that outnumbers us severely. I get on the MG and I hold my own on the second floor of the farmhouse. We eliminate a majority of them, and then allied tanks roll in and take out the remaining soldiers who start to retreat. In real life, there is no record of there being any significant counterattack at all on any position this close to Omaha Beach. Turner tells us
Destroy that cannon! Got it! Thermite!
a soldier comes up with a helmet full of TNT, and we pull out a thermite grenade, toss it in the helmet,
Fire in the hole!
and watch it explode and destroy the gun off of the cannon. This is not possible at all in real life. A thermite grenade would not be hot enough to ignite TNT like that to cause it to explode. Other than that scene being literally impossible, the gun itself is painted the wrong color. It should be a Normandy type camouflage, not this teal type. Here you can come across another memento in the game, this one being a Paratrooper Pathfinder's patch. To my knowledge, the patch didn't look like this at all, and rather looked like this. Also, why would a paratrooper patch be here this close to Omaha Beach? There are no paratroopers here at all. In the final cutscene, you regroup with ILO and Zussman after securing Omaha Beach in about 20 minutes, when in reality, it took the soldiers 6 hours just to get off the beach. It wasn't until around 3 p.m., 9 hours after the first landings, that all the positions overlooking the beach were secured. Obviously, they can't make the mission last that long, but still, I feel like I had to add that in. Alright, now it's time to give this mission a historical accuracy grade. Considering all of the mistakes, which a lot of them were silly and obviously done for the game to be entertaining, other mistakes portrayed Omaha Beach in a completely wrong way. The game got the brutal aspect of Omaha Beach correct, but again, the look of the beach, the bunkers, and the trenches are all wrong. There were a lot of mistakes that I covered, 38 in total, which a lot of them were little ones that I was nitpicking at, but it's those things that matter. I really liked this mission, but overall it did not do a good job with showing it in a historically accurate perspective. So with all that added up, I'm going to have to give this mission a historical accuracy grade of 30 out of 100. They do good on some things, but the bad outweighs the good by a lot. Let me know what grade you think the mission deserves, and if I missed any other inaccuracies, down in the comments below. In the next video, I'll be going over Operation Cobra and every historical inaccuracy in that mission. So please like and subscribe and stay tuned by turning on post notifications, so you know when the next episode in this series gets posted. Yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope to see you in the next episode. Goodbye.